Ladies and gentlemen, we're with Peter Churchman, who is a candidate for District 17, United States House of Representatives, and he opposes Bill Flores in the general election in November. He is a member of the Libertarian Party, and we're here to talk about changing the government, the U.S. government, back to what it was when it was originally founded, and it was set up to stick with the enumerated powers of Congress as outlined in the Constitution of 1790. We sure want you to talk to us about that. It could be that some people don't know much about the enumerated powers, and I know as much as to say it's Section 8 of Article 1. And take it away, you're the doctor.
Well, when you talk about the enumerated powers, that's really all the federal government is able to do and have a constitutional basis. When it boils down to what is in the enumerated powers, the answer is really not much. A lot of what the Constitution was set up to do was let the states rule themselves and not have a ever-expanding federal government with more and more power. A lot of the problems we have with our budget today and our national debt and our national deficit come because the federal government is doing so much more than what is in the enumerated powers. And it's just not necessary. The states would do a better job of it themselves. I think the states would be wise to not do much more and just let the free market take care of most things.
What would be the programs that you feel that need to just be cut out? Now, my understanding is the enumerated powers are to collect tariffs.
That's the welfare clause.
Yeah, and then you've got the interstate commerce clause.
Clause 3.
You've got minting the currency.
Yes, they do have that. They've got the war powers. They've got clauses to set up courts. They've got a clause for the Navy. They don't have a clause for the Army. That's why it's reauthorized every 2 years.
So that is morphed into the National Defense Authorization Act, which says you have no writ of habeas corpus. You don't have to be informed of what you've been charged with. You will not get a jury trial. Your offense will be heard by a military tribunal, and sometime, who knows? Certainly none of the rules apply.
So sadly, that is how it has turned, and I think the average person in America sadly doesn't know what's in the Constitution. I'm certainly not a constitutional authority, but I also think once they get exposed to what the role of the federal government was intended to be, a lot of people like it. Some people don't. Some people want more federal government. I'm not in that camp. But I think especially Republicans and even conservative Democrats, and I know libertarians, don't want everything that's in the federal Constitution. Some of it I disagree with, but we would much rather just do that than what the federal government is doing now.
I've got a question for you. Do you think that we'll ever see, certainly not in our lifetime, you and I, but maybe in our grandchildren's lifetime, that if we follow the route that you and the Libertarian Party wish to follow, that we'd actually see a retirement of the national debt, and we would see our progeny freed from debt slavery?
Well, the way we're going now, no. It's been, I can't remember the year. I was in high school when we almost didn't have a deficit. And we're just spending more and more. And no one seems to be concerned about it. Senator Paul put it pretty succinctly the other day, I thought. And he said, when Democrats in power, Republicans are the conservative party. But when Republicans are in power, there is no conservative party. And that is very true. We just had to borrow $300 billion last week. We passed this $1.3 trillion omnibus appropriations bill full of things that conservatives don't like, full of things that liberals don't like. and we're just spending more and more to appease the other side to get what you want. And
So you borrowed that from international banking houses. So you don't really
wait,
know whose money that is.
well, he borrowed that, a lot of it from the Chinese. At the same time, we're starting a trade war with the Chinese. So that I think it's a problem.
Would you be in favor of getting rid of the Federal Reserve, or at least demanding an accounting from them if they want to do business, and administer the money supply to a central bank of the United States?
Yes, it's a congressional duty to do that, and they have outsourced it to the Federal Reserve. It should go back to Congress. There are a lot of things that should go back to Congress. The number one thing that should go back to Congress is declaring war. When we send our troops to a foreign nation, we need Congress to vote on that. We don't need a massive authorization of use of military force. We just need to hold a vote. That's what the Constitution says.
Well, that is a outstandingly strong platform that you've got. I know that you've got a watchword that you're using in this campaign, and it concerns Mr. Flores, your opponent, and it has something to do with the spending bill. Could you repeat that for our listeners?
I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about, but when I talk about Congressman Flores, I have a lot of problems with him on some of his ideas. My main problem, he's a fiscal liberal. He is not a conservative. He voted along with Beto O'Rourke last week to spend more money. Beto is one of the more liberal Democrats in the country, and him and Congressman Flores are voting the same. So if you are a true conservative, you cannot be on the same side as Congressman Flores. He is a liberal.
Let me remind you of the quote. Will you agree that this is what you said? Mr. Flores has never seen or never found a spending measure that he doesn't like.
That's very close. I don't know if that's exactly what I've said. I've said it a lot of times. He has found one spending measure he doesn't like, and he really doesn't want to subsidize any renewable type industry. I think that's probably because he's so connected in the fossil fuel industry. So it's not that he doesn't want to subsidize energy. He just doesn't want to subsidize renewable energy because it would hurt his oil buddies.
Well then, is there anything you'd like to add?
Go to my Facebook page, hit like, and I'm having events throughout the district from now until November. And if it is near you, go ahead and say you're going to go, come out and meet me and tell your friends. I need a large word of mouth campaign to get my vote out there.
Well, for Radio Legendary, I'm the legendary Jim Parks, and for Mr. Churchman, I'm here to remind you that the floggings will continue until morale improves.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.